Sport on BBC Radio Newcastle with me, Simon Pride. Stephen Elliott, former Sunderland striker. John Anderson, ex-Newcastle United fullback. Dominic James is in the studio as well. Hello there, Dom.
Good evening.
Razor will be back later this week. But between us and myself and you, well, we've covered all of Newcastle's games, haven't we, over the weekend, or Friday night and Saturday. So we can have a good chew-over what we witnessed. Our commentary game on Friday evening was Newcastle's 1-1 draw with Atalanta. I was there with Ando, and then you, Dom, were there yesterday. On Saturday. All right, on Saturday, yes, for the game against Athletic Bilbao. So, where do we start? Well, I think probably the place to start is the Friday night game, Ando. Because you were there and you witnessed that, and your assessment of what you saw, where you feel Newcastle are at, what with just a week to go till the Premier League season begins.
I thought it was a good workout. There wasn't a great deal of chances in the game. He mixed and matched. You look at the back four and players that came in. And when we spoke beforehand, Simon, I thought that he would have played his stronger side on the Friday night, but it didn't go that way. And I think it's left everybody scratching their heads, thinking, what's a starting 11 going to be against Forest?
I mean, he did explain to me afterwards on Friday that the reason that he did that was simply because some players had needed a bit of extra recovery time after the Benfica game, and it was all really down to kind of which players he felt could do with an extra day. So it wasn't anything to do with the kind of combinations that he wanted to play, etc. That's what he said anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, look at everybody got game time, and a lot of players on both days got 90 minutes. A lot of those senior boys, so it set them up nicely for.
Nobody got 90 minutes on both days.
No,
but yes, that's what you're saying. Yeah, some players got 90 on the Friday
and some
others got a whole night. Rather than chopping and changing it.
Yeah, and the back four that he played on Friday, do you now think, does anybody think that maybe that could be the back four that starts against Forest, and then the forward and midfield players that played against Bilbao, is that going to be the...
There's a school of thought. We'll see what people think. 800.
But it was a good workout. I mean, Friday night, Atalanta, big, strong. Wasn't too much goal action. Neither keeper really called upon to make too many saves, but it was a good workout.
0800 234 6565. So certainly some of the forward players and midfielders, Dom, that you watched against Athletic Bilbao, you would expect to be in the starting lineup against Forest. What was your assessment of the game on Saturday afternoon?
Well, compared to the Friday night game, I actually thought, and Eddie Howe said this after the match as well, that the intensity wasn't as high. Maybe in the second half, it slowed down a lot after the hour mark, really. Some players maybe tiring a bit. Paul Dummett had to come off. He himself hasn't had a lot of football, admittedly, but he came off. Matty Longstaff as well also came on. Generally, I thought in the first half they were really good, high intensity. The midfield looked really strong, paceful, powerful. Joe Linton breaking up play really well. Bruno showing some really classy moments with some touches. And Willock, as you'd expect, a willing ruller, and St Maximin. Really, for the first goal, bit of quality, beat three players into Richie. Richie gets in Wilson, and really nice finish with his left foot, and then St Maximin 1-on-1 in the second half. I wasn't sure about St Maximin's goal. I wasn't sure. I didn't get to see like a wide angle replay. I wasn't sure if it was offside or not. But yeah, it was still a well taken goal from St Maximin, and maybe some questionable celebrating as well.
What, over the top for a friendly? Do you mean?
Yeah, perhaps. But who am I?
We'll see if anybody wants to raise that issue on the programme this evening. One big talking point that we had, late last week and over the weekend hasn't gone away, really. I've been in a bit of a Twitter debate about this over the weekend as well. Reports suggesting that Newcastle have had a £40 million bid for Leicester's James Maddison rejected. Apparently going back with a bid of 50 million, so some reports suggest. But that was something that you put to Eddie Howe, wasn't it, Dom, after the game on Saturday?
Yeah, I did ask him, and he gave pretty much a very stock answer to it.
Very difficult. Number 10 roles, but certainly the attacking positions. I'm certainly not going to start now out of respect for everybody.
There we go. We heard most of them had two clips at the same time there, but he basically isn't going to say anything about it until he's
pretty much. And then
until a player's coming into the club and has signed along the dotted line, that's the stock answer that pretty much every head coach gives. But it doesn't stop us talking about the possibility of James Maddison coming. And yeah, from that short answer, he certainly wasn't saying he's not interested in Maddison. You would think, and there's something in this.
Yeah.
So 40 million rejected, 50 million apparently what they'll go back with. How many times do you keep going back? Where do you stop? What's he worth?
Depends on how desperate they are to get him. You know, if they're desperate to get him, he's worth what they're willing to pay. I don't think Leicester would be too keen on letting him go. You know, I think Leicester will be looking at what Manchester City paid for Jack Grealish, and they'll be thinking that £50 million isn't enough.
Yes.
So do you go
He's
back
not
again?
as good as Jack Grealish, is he?
No, he's not. But in saying that, Jack Grealish isn't twice the player that Maddison is. So the City paid 100 million for Grealish.
So what do you think would be a reasonable price for Newcastle to pay for him?
I don't know. I mean, we were talking about it before we came in, and the way that Eddie Howe sets his teams up, you wonder where he fits in.
Yeah.
You know, because he's sort of he's got a free role at Leicester and drifts and plays off Vardy and plays in behind Vardy.
Leicester play like two number 10s
Yeah.
behind Vardy or
Where
Nacho, so.
Eddie Howe likes to play with one up the middle and two wide.
So would he play wide?
I don't see him. I think that's he
Wow.
may see him as that type of player, but would he be as effective? I mean, I don't know. And again, you know, I don't think that 50 million will be enough, but we'll see.
Yeah. My instinct would be to maybe pay slightly over the odds for him if you have to, because he's a good player, and this is
He's
maybe
a good
something
player,
that
yeah.
Newcastle are going to have to do.
Yeah, and look, this is something we spoke about last week, and the closer you get to deadline day, you know, you can keep saying, oh, well, we're not being backed into a corner, we're not paying this, we're not paying that. That's fine, but the closer it gets to deadline day, if you're desperate and you still haven't brought players in, you're going to have to pay over the
Better
odds.
to pay £60 million from now than 80 million on deadline
Well,
day.
they are, yeah.
Let's see what people think, though. Because, yeah, I think the majority of messages that we've had so far have suggested that Newcastle should shell out for him, whether it's 50 million, whether it's 60 million, but not everybody agrees. What else did you ask Eddie Howe, Dom?
So, well, based off that answer, off the stock answer I got, I did ask if the number 10 position was something that they were looking at.
Not necessarily number 10 roles, but certainly the attacking positions. Yes, it's an area we're looking at, but as I've always said many times, we're never satisfied. We're always looking for a player we feel can elevate a position, regardless of what that is. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with the market and see if we can bring somebody in that makes the team better.
But will there be any incoming signings before the Forest game next
We're
Saturday?
looking, trying, working to do that. No guarantee. So we've still got time. If it's not for this game, then hopefully further down the line. But we are active and, yeah, trying to do something.
Yeah, that's kind of what he said to me on Friday as well. So we'll have to see. But there's obviously work going on behind the scenes. And would you be... I don't expect anyone necessarily to come in this week. I don't know. I don't get the feeling that
I
it's that
think even
close
if
to you.
somebody comes in this week, do they play against Forest? You would probably think not, because if you're going on previous experiences, Eddie Howe just likes to ease players in. He can
Yes.
just get them in and throw them in straight away. So even if they do come in, unless it's somebody really, really exceptional, but I don't see them starting. I think the team will be what we picked from what we've got at this moment in time.
Yes, John Joe Shelby isn't likely to
No.
figure at the weekend. Dom, that was something that you discussed with Eddie Howe. Of course, Shelby picking up that hamstring injury in Portugal.
Yeah, and Eddie Howe said he will be a doubt for the Nottingham Forest match.
It looks like he's got an issue with his hamstring. It was an awkward fall. But we're still waiting specialist opinion before we know exactly what the time he'll be out is.
A few other players out injured as well, Dom.
Yeah, and so the three that weren't necessarily involved were Federico Fernandez, Jamal Lewis and Javi Manquillo over the weekend and throughout pre-season, and Eddie Howe gave us an update on how they're getting on.
Yeah, Manquillo we hope will train next week. Fernandez and Lewis probably the same time scale. Will hopefully be the week after. I think that's sort of how things stand at the moment.
Thank you very much indeed, Dom. Speaking to Eddie Howe then after the game at the weekend. Newcastle beating Athletic Bilbao on Saturday, drawing with Atalanta on Friday evening. They did actually round off their pre-season campaign. This was the under-21s with a 2-2 draw against the Dundee United 11 today. Matt Bonswell, Matty Longstaff, Lucas de Ball, Santiago Munoz, who you'll have seen came on against Athletic Bilbao, played in that one today. Santiago Munoz and Matt Bonswell got the goals in that game. So now it's your turn. 0800 234 6565 is the number to call. You can message us as well. 81333 if you want to send us a text. Start your text with the letters BBC. You can also tweet at BBC Newcastle using the Total Sport hashtag. Paula has been on. Congratulations to the England ladies yesterday. A magnificent performance all round by the Lionesses for Sunderland. Well, it was a reasonable start, says Paula. Plenty more on the Lionesses to come between now and the end of the programme. And as well, in memory of Albert, as well as performance of the weekend, which we have always done on a Monday for a long time now, we're going to produce the Hoyed in the River Award.
Once Hoyed in the River.
For something that we want kind of metaphorically Hoyed in the river after the weekend. I did mention my faulty headphones and microphone earlier, and now that the frustration with them has tempered a little bit, I'll throw forward my other nomination, and it might be deemed a slightly controversial one, this. See what you think. Hoyed in the River, I would like Sweet Caroline. I've had enough of it. I know people say don't be a killjoy, people like it after games, but basically it was used, it's obviously been used throughout the Euros, hasn't it, the Women's Euros. It was used at the Euros last year after England games as well. But it was nicked, wasn't it? It was nicked from Northern Ireland, who used it in 2016 at the European Championships, I believe. And they nicked it as well. Boxing and baseball, yeah. Baseball as well. Baseball's used it for years. So it's a bit cliched now, and I've had enough of it. I want it.
Once Hoyed in the River.
It does, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Are you two with me on that or not?
Quite like the song, to be fair.
It's all right. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the song. And I'm not trying to be
Neil
a kill.
Diamond in the River.
I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be a killjoy in terms of the celebrations last night either. But you know,
I hear
it's
you.
a bit much of it. Yeah, we'll see what people think about that. I might get shot down in flames for that one. We shall see. The number to call if you would like to have your say on the programme this evening is 08000 321 333. So that's the WhatsApp number. The number to call is 0800 234 6565. It is a free phone number, and we would be delighted to have you on the programme tonight. First up is Chris, who is a Sunderland supporter. Evening, Chris.
Evening, chaps. How we doing?
Hi,
All
Chris.
right?
Hey, Chris.
What are your thoughts on Sweet Caroline, Chris, before you go any further?
I think it's good. I think it conjures up a good
Okay.
atmosphere.
Am I being a killjoy?
It's a nice tune.
All right. Okay.
I mean, I think it's all right.
All right. Okay. I take your point. I think I'm going to be outnumbered here. What about the game? What about the game yesterday, Chris?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad start. I mean, Coventry are not a bad side. I think they're going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. And it's all about expectations, isn't it? What do we want to achieve this season? I mean, I'd be happy if we were lucky enough to break into the top six. First half, I thought we played some good football. May have gone in, you know, and sneaked a couple more goals. But second half, I think that they came back into it. Interesting to see some of the new boys, the big boy Ballard at the back. I'm looking forward to see how he evolves in the season. Looking to see what players to make that step up from League One to Championship, because it is obviously a big difference. So it'll be interesting to see how things evolve and to see how, if the gaffer brings anybody else in to sort of steady that ship going forward. But overall, I think the 1-1 was a fair result. I think they deserved a share of the spoils. And you know, the most important thing is not to get beaten on the first game of the season, isn't it? And you know, you got a big crowd there, and the expectations are there. And I was quite happy with it at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. I would have loved it if we could have held out and beaten them, but I wasn't too disappointed with the 1-0. We had a go, and like I say, they're a good side that are going to be there at the end of the season.
Yeah, agree with what you're saying. I think he's right. Chris is right there when you talk about expectations. What do the crowd demand this year? The supporters going to the games. Obviously, there's a lot of players like we spoke about that. The championship level is new to them, so they'll be finding their feet, especially in the opening weeks of the campaign where the games are kind of coming thick and fast. These players are going to learn a lot, and if the team can continue to pick up points here and there while they're learning, they're only going to improve. And you'd like to think that eventually they're going to just get that little bit more know-how about the division. I looked at even Coventry sometimes yesterday. They were winning free kicks a little bit better than some of the Sunderland players. Like Ross Stewart a few times was going down and kind of looking for a free kick, whereas you look at the Coventry lads, they were kind of just getting the free kicks.
Yeah.
That's a skill in itself. And I think the higher the level you go up, you kind of, as a player, you learn how to do that better. And that's something that I think the Sunderland lads will need to learn as well. But no, 1-1 yesterday, it was a... Like Nick Barnes said at the start, it was a good kind of. It tells you exactly where you're kind of at this level, and I think the team will improve. I don't think anybody is going to turn around and say yes, Sunderland need to be in and around the promotion mix, but you just want to cement yourself in the league and become a solid championship team. And from what I've seen yesterday, I don't think that's too far away.
Lots of games to go. That's just one game down, Chris. But has it helped to allay any fears you might have had that Sunderland, without having made too many signings in the summer, might be struggling and might end up, at the wrong end of the division quite quickly?
No, I think we've got enough quality there to sort of be okay this season. But it's that extra little bit of quality, stroke experience that you might need to try and get you into a top six. We might be missing a little bit there. That's why I think it's going to be interesting to see if we bring anybody else in now. I think we could do with somebody else, someone else up front. I look at the midfield and think, are we strong enough in there? I'm not so sure, but I'm sure Alex Neil's looking at that thinking, and he's probably earmarked players that can bring something to the team, because there's no point in just going out and getting players in. You've got to bring somebody in that's better than you've got.
And that's the thing, I think, as well, with the players that you're looking at. There's probably, I'd say, 7 or 8 clubs in the Championship that are probably looking at similar players, and it becomes a bit of a competitive
because you
transfer
both were
market.
talking about a kind of dominant, dynamic central midfielder. They, to get a kind of all-rounder like that is pretty hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, and
especially when you're on a budget.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They cost money, and I think obviously Sunderland, they are where they are at the moment. They probably haven't got as big as budget as some of the other teams in the Championship, but you always hope, because of the pull of Sunderland, obviously the support, the stadium, the facility, and playing for the club, you'd like to think that kind of gives Sunderland a little bit of a head start on certain kind of players coming in. But it'll be an interesting few weeks. I think Alex Neil, more than anybody, he knows this division, he knows it well, so he'll know what he needs, and he knows how to get out of this league. So I think we just got to put our trust in his hands, and hopefully he can kind of come the end of the transfer window. We have a good squad there.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Good to speak to you.
Cheers,
we'll
Chris.
talk to you again soon, I'm sure. Do give us a call tonight, 0800 234 6565. Give us a call if you're at Wembley. We would love to hear from you if you were there last night for the England Lionesses' victory over Germany to lift the European Championship trophy. It'd be fantastic to hear from you if you do get in touch tonight. I did say that Newcastle drew with Atalanta. I believe that I had the Sunderland score in my head, and I said that they drew 1-1 on Friday. They won, didn't they? I mean, I was sitting there commentating on it with you, and I should really have known that. I did know that. It was just a slip of the tongue, so apologies. And thank you to the numerous people that corrected me on that. I can always rely on you to make sure that you tell me if I get something wrong. And you could also nominate me, therefore, to be Hoyd in the River, couldn't you?
Hoyd in the River.
For giving out the wrong score, a game I was at and commentating on. Thank you for all the messages. I will come to some of those in a moment, but before that, I want to go to Jonathan, who's in Newcastle. Fine, he's waiting on the line next. Evening, Jonathan. Welcome to BBC Radio Newcastle.
Hi, Friday. You alright, lads?
Hey, Jonathan.
Just really kind of looking forward to the game on Saturday, and it's come around to me so quickly. I can't believe we're actually back at St James's on Saturday. But I was at the game. I wasn't at the Friday game, so I've been on holiday, but I was at the Saturday game, and I've never seen a group of players more sort of fit. I think that's probably the way to put it. They didn't run out of legs. They were absolutely shattered at the end of the game, but they kept going. It just seemed like pressing quite a lot, the different style of play by trying to pass the football, which is amazing. It's ridiculous, but amazing at the same time when we've been used to just lumping it so long. But I want to say just my interpretation of things. I think really Lascelles is going to be club captain. I don't think he'll start. I think he was one of the few players that couldn't really pass the ball as well. He tried, but you could tell he was uncomfortable. I think Dummett is a million miles away from being fit, but he's trying to get back to fitness. But I think it'll be a very tight decision whether he plays Burning Shaw or whether he puts Botman in there on Saturday, because I thought Botman was absolutely brilliant. But what he likes to do, how seemingly is like you did with Bruno, is give people time to settle into the league. And you may well think he's actually got a good enough sort of back sort of forward as it is without putting Botman into it yet. But I'll be interested to see what happens to the goalkeeper, because I think Pope's had a decent pre-season. Dubravka's never really let her down. There's a few mistakes in him, but he's on the whole been a very good goalkeeper. So I'm just interested to see what happens at the weekend, and actually positive for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, look, I think the situation with Botman's different to Bruno, because I think when we signed Bruno, we went on that run where we were winning games, and we went on that unbeaten run, and he didn't want to break that team up and break that midfield up. And Botman's come in, he's had a pre-season, he's done the pre-season games. I think it's a different situation, Jonathan, if I'm perfectly honest. I don't know. Saying that, I don't know. Obviously, I think the back five on Friday night could well start against Forest, and the 6 forward players that played on Saturday could be the ones, but I don't know. I think everybody will have their own views, I thought in the first half on Friday night, I thought Almiron was busy, lively. Thought he faded a bit second half. I thought Anderson was excellent second half. So I think there's one or two there who've given them a little bit of food for thought. I think he probably knows the side that he'll put out. But, as I say, young Anderson, I don't think he did himself any harm at all, especially with his second half performance. You would expect Almiron to start because of the goals that he's got 6 goals in pre-season. You would expect St. Maximin to start, Wilson to start, Joe Linton and Bruno, and I think there's one spot left there. And then I think there's that extra midfield spot, and then I think it's the centre back issue.
Going on to that, just talking about that centre midfield, nice little segue, but I know trying to sign Madison Ando, I think would be, for me, his numbers are incredible. I know he's a bit of a pest and a pain, but it's like the Craig Bellamy effect with him. He plays for Newcastle, everybody who played against him just hated him. But when he's on your team, you really want to, I think he would for me, would transform the attacking side of the team, because I think we're just missing that evident on Saturday game was somebody to link the two between midfield and defence. You cannot ask Bruno to do everything. Willock's busy, but he's not really got I don't think he's got a real long-term future, because he's all right as an impact, but I don't see him as somebody who can control the midfield and can control the ball.
Yeah,
so need somebody who can get on the ball and create chances, and I think that's what Madison would give it. If we're able to get him, I think it would be an outstanding statement. Really.
So where would you play him?
Well, that's the other thing. I don't think he plays midfield in our team. I think he plays on the right-hand side of the front three as such. There's not really a front three with wingers. I think one would tuck in probably a little bit like where Madison, a bit like what Phil Foden does, where Grealish plays for Man City. They don't play midfield, they play in the sort of like pockets of space between the wing and the inside midfield. That's where I think you could play. But then if you do play a different formation, a 4-2-3-1, he would fit nicely into number 10. But we don't play number 10.
No.
I don't see him as an out-and-out box-to-box midfielder. I see him somebody very high up the pitch, personally.
Would Eddie Howe be willing to change the way that he plays just because of the acquisition of one player? Probably not.
Nah, I don't think you need to. Friday, I think the way the modern football is now, you don't play without wingers anymore, really. Maximum cuts in on the left-hand side, on the right. I think we've got a gap on the right with Almiron can play, but he's hot and cold. You've got Fraser the same. There isn't anybody really can nail down that position. So it isn't kind of the old days where you have to have Keith Gillespie on one side and Ginola or Robert and Solano. It's different to that now, the way they play. So